The corner office of Wilson Global Enterprises gleamed in the morning light as I adjusted my CEO nameplate. 6 years ago in this same building, my father had called me into his much smaller office to fire me from my junior analyst position. "You'll never succeed in finance, Alexandra," he'd said, sliding my termination papers across his desk. "You don't have what it takes. Maybe try something simpler." Now, at 32, I controlled one of the largest financial empires in the country. My recent string of acquisitions had caught everyone by surprise, especially the struggling Morgan & Sons finance, where my father still worked as a senior vice president, unaware that his company was about to become my latest subsidiary. "Ms. Wilson," my assistant Patricia's voice came through the intercom. "The final paperwork for the Morgan & Sons acquisition has arrived." I smiled, remembering my father's dismissive words. After he'd fired me, I'd changed my mother's maiden name, Wilson, and started from scratch. A small investment firm that grew into something nobody, especially my father, could have predicted. "The merger meeting is scheduled for 2 p.m., Patricia continued. "All Morgan & Sons executives will be present, including Senior VP Richard Foster." My father. He still didn't know. None of them did. The merger had been negotiated through intermediaries. The true identity of Wilson Global's CEO kept carefully hidden. They thought they were meeting an old money patriarch named Wilson, not the failure they'd fired 6 years ago. My phone buzzed, a text from my mother. "Your father's nervous about meeting his new boss today. Be kind to him, Alexandra." Mom was the only one who knew my secret. She'd been there the day Dad fired me, had watched me rebuild myself from nothing. When I'd made my first $1 million, she'd cried. When I'd hit $1 billion, she just smiled and said, "I always knew." I opened my laptop to review Morgan & Sons financials. The company had been floundering for years, making exactly the mistakes I'd warned them about when I was a junior analyst. Their rejection of digital transformation, their resistance to emerging markets, everything I'd highlighted in my final presentation before being fired. "Patricia," I called through the intercom, "is everything ready for the meeting?" "Yes, Ms. Wilson. The contracts are prepared, the boardroom is set, and security has been briefed. Also, your father's old termination letter has been framed as requested." That letter had become my motivation, fuel for every late night and early morning. I'd kept it in my desk drawer as I built Wilson Global piece by piece, a reminder of why I couldn't fail. The morning passed quickly as I finalized the acquisition details. By 1:30, Patricia reported that the Morgan & Sons executives had arrived and were waiting in the conference room. "They're quite impressed with the building," she noted with a slight smirk. "Especially Mr. Foster. He mentioned that his daughter used to work in finance but couldn't handle it." I stood, smoothing my Armani suit. "Let them wait a few more minutes. I want to make an entrance they'll never forget." Through the conference room's glass walls, I could see them, 6 men in expensive suits, my father among them, all looking nervous. They had no idea that their company's fate rested in the hands of someone they'd once dismissed. My mother's last text arrived. "Remember, success is the best revenge." At exactly 2 p.m. I gathered my files and nodded to Patricia. It was time to show my father exactly what his failure of a daughter had become. "Ready to announce you, Ms. Wilson," Patricia said, her hand on the conference room door. I thought about the last 6 years. The late nights, the strategic plays, the careful hiding of my identity. All leading to this moment. "Let's show them what success really looks like," I said, stepping forward as Patricia opened the door. The room fell silent as I entered. 6 pairs of eyes widened in shock. But I only cared about one reaction, my father's face going completely white as he recognized his new boss. His coffee cup slipped from his hand, shattering on the polished floor. "Gentlemen," I said calmly, taking my seat at the head of the table. "I'm Alexandra Wilson, CEO of Wilson Global Enterprises. And as of today, your new owner." The silence in the conference room was deafening. Coffee from my father's shattered cup spread slowly across the polished floor, but no one moved to clean it up. All eyes were fixed on me, the woman they'd dismissed as incapable 6 years ago. This must be some mistake," stuttered Harold Barnes, Morgan & Sons CFO. "We were told we'd be meeting with Mr. Wilson." "There is no Mr. Wilson," I replied, opening my laptop. "Wilson Global Enterprises was built by me from the ground up. I turned to my father, whose face had progressed from white to gray. Isn't that right, Dad? The other executive's head snapped toward him so fast I heard neck joints crack. Dad, repeated Thomas Chin, the operations director. Richard, this is your Alexandra, my father finally managed, his voice barely a whisper. You're Wilson Global. I pulled up the acquisition contract on the room's main screen. The same daughter you fired for lacking business instinct. The one who didn't have what it takes. Would you like to see your exact words? I nodded to Patricia, who distributed copies of my old termination letter to everyone at the table. In light of your inability to grasp basic financial concepts, Barnes read aloud, then stopped, looking uncomfortable. Please continue, I said smoothly. I believe the next part is particularly interesting. Your continued employment would be a liability to Morgan & Sons. Perhaps a less demanding career path would be more suitable for your limited capabilities. My father seemed to shrink in his chair as his colleagues read his words from 6 years ago. I let the moment stretch, remembering all the nights I'd read that letter, using the anger and hurt as fuel to build my empire. Now, I continued, pulling up Morgan & Sons' financial reports, let's discuss why you're all here. Your company is failing. The same issues I identified 6 years ago have finally caught up with you. I highlighted the declining revenue charts, the missed opportunities, the failed strategies. Everything I'd warned them about in my final presentation as a junior analyst. Digital transformation, emerging markets, algorithmic trading, all opportunities you dismissed. Now you're losing millions while your competitors, many of whom are already Wilson Global subsidiaries, are thriving. But your acquisition offer, Thomas Chin interjected, it's well above market value. Because I'm not just buying your company, gentlemen. I'm buying the satisfaction of proving every dismissive comment, every condescending smile, every doubt about my capabilities completely wrong. Patricia entered with a new stack of documents, the complete restructuring plan I'd prepared. The same basic strategy I'd proposed 6 years ago, updated and expanded. Your choice is simple, I continued. Accept the merger and keep your jobs under my leadership and new protocols, or decline and watch your company collapse within 6 months. Either way, I win. You planned this, my father finally spoke, his voice hoarse. All of it. Wilson Global's strategic acquisitions, the market pressure on our company, the timing. I learned from the best, Dad. You taught me that business is ruthless. That only the strong survive. I smiled, remembering his words. Though I doubt this is what you meant when you told me to find my place in the world. The room fell silent again as the executives studied the documents before them. 6 years of failure versus my offer of salvation, with a healthy dose of humble pie. The terms are generous, Barnes admitted, looking through the contract. But the restructuring plan is non-negotiable, I finished. You need my company more than we need yours. Your shareholders know it. Your board knows it. And now you know it. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Your father just texted me. He's in shock. Be merciful. I looked at my father, seeing not the intimidating man who'd fired me, but someone who'd been proven catastrophically wrong. His hands trembled as he reached for the contract. One more thing, I added, pressing a button on my laptop. The screen changed to show a familiar document. I'm going to need my termination letter back. The original copy. I have a special frame waiting for it in my office. The other executives shifted uncomfortably as my father nodded slowly, defeated. It's in my office. Patricia will collect it. Along with everything else from your office. His head snapped up. What? Oh, did I forget to mention? As part of the restructuring, all senior management positions are being reviewed. Starting with Senior Vice President of Strategic Development. The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room. The position he deemed me unqualified for would now be filled by someone of my choosing. You're firing me? He asked, his voice barely audible. I stood, smoothing my suit. No, Dad. I'm giving you the opportunity to explore a less demanding career path. One better suited to your limited capabilities. The next hour passed in a blur of signatures and legal formalities. One by one, the executives signed the merger documents, their earlier confidence replaced by a quiet acceptance of their new reality. My father signed last, his hand shaking as he passed the contract back to Patricia. Before we conclude, I announced, I want to address the elephant in the room. Yes, I'm Richard Foster's daughter. He fired me 6 years ago. And yes, I built Wilson Global specifically to prove him wrong. I paused, letting my words sink in. But this isn't about revenge. I clicked to the next slide, revealing Wilson Global's impressive portfolio. This is about success. About vision. About seeing opportunities that others dismiss. Standing, I walked around the table, my heels clicking on the polished floor. Morgan & Sons will be completely restructured. Those who can adapt will stay. Those who can't. I glanced at my father, will be given their chance to explore other opportunities. Alexandra, my father finally spoke, his voice strained. I was wrong. Yes, you were, I replied calmly. About many things. But mostly about me. Patricia entered with a sleek folder. The press release is ready, Ms. Wilson. Shall I proceed? Wait, my father interjected. The press, everyone will know. That you fired your own daughter who then became your boss? I smiled. That's not just news, Dad. That's a headline. The other executives gathered their things, eager to escape the tension. As they filed out, Thomason paused. For what it's worth, Ms. Wilson, your original proposal from 6 years ago. I voted to keep you. After they left, only my father remained, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. What happens now? He asked. I pressed the intercom. Patricia, please bring in the other envelope. She returned with a single document. Not another termination letter, but something else entirely. A choice, I explained, sliding it across the table. You can leave with a generous severance package or... I tapped the document. You can take an entry-level position in our Asia division. Start fresh. Learn the business the right way. He stared at the paper, then at me. You'd give me a second chance? After everything. Mom always said success is the best revenge, I said quietly. But real success means knowing when to stop fighting. Just then my phone buzzed with a message from her. Dinner tonight? Your treat, CO. I looked over at my father, still staring at the signed document in front of him, his future laid bare. The Asia division comes with a mentor program, I added. Every junior analyst gets one-on-one guidance from a senior exec. You'll be reporting to me. His eyes widened. You'd teach me everything you should have learned years ago. Everything you once dismissed from me. I gathered my files. You have until tomorrow to decide. As I walked toward the door, he called after me. Alexandra, I'm sorry. For everything. I paused, then turned. Prove it. Not with words, with action. That's what leadership really looks like. Walking back to my office, I passed the photo wall. Images of Wilson Global's climb from a single rented space to international expansion. Each frame marked a chapter in the story that turned Richard Foster's disappointment into a CEO. Patricia met me at my office door. Your mother's on line 1. And the press release, it's gone viral. I picked up the phone, gazing out over the skyline. Hi, Mom. It's done. He knows now. Everything's going to change. On my desk, beside my CEO nameplate, sat an empty picture frame. It had once been reserved for the termination letter that started it all. But maybe, just maybe, it was meant for something else, something earned. Dinner tonight? I asked her. Let's go to that little Italian place. The one where Dad told me to give up on finance. I own it now. The sun dipped lower behind the city, casting gold across the glass towers. Tomorrow would bring new business challenges and maybe a new chapter in the Foster family. But tonight, I'd be more than a CEO. I'd be a daughter and proof that success isn't just survival. It's transformation. The next morning, the headlines exploded. Wilson Global CEO revealed. Fired daughter now father's boss. Alexandra Wilson, from rejection to global powerhouse. Morgan & Sons swallowed by their former junior analyst. By 9 a.m., Patricia had declined over a dozen interview requests. My phone hadn't stopped ringing. Ms. Wilson, she said through the intercom, your father's here. He has the envelope. Send him in. He walked in slower than before, less pride, more humility. In his hands were two things. My 6-year-old termination letter and the signed contract for his new position. I read everything about you last night, he said softly. What you built. What you changed. All the things I said would fail. Worked. I motioned to the chair. And He held up the contract. I want to earn it. I want to learn. From you. It won't be easy, I said. Shared cubicle. Long hours. No exceptions. Like you had to. Right then Mom burst in with a newspaper in hand. Have you seen this? They're calling you the Phoenix of Finance. She froze at the sight of Dad. Oh. Richard. It's okay, I said. Dad just accepted an entry-level position. Asia Division. Her eyes went wide. You're staying? As her employee. He nodded. If she'll have me. I've got a lot to learn. The intercom crackled again. Ms. Wilson, the board is ready for your integration presentation. I stood. Dad, your flight to Shanghai leaves tomorrow. Patricia will coordinate. Owen. I handed him a small box. Your new business cards, Junior Analyst Foster. He opened the box and stared at the title. Said everything. Thank you, Alexandra. I mean, Ms. Wilson. One more thing, I said, holding up the empty frame from my desk. This was meant for the letter you fired me with. But if you do well, maybe it'll hold something else. Your first performance review is in 6 months. Make it frame-worthy. As he left, Mom lingered. You're really giving him a second chance? No, I said. I'm giving him what he never gave me, an opportunity to prove himself fairly. My phone buzzed again. Thomas Chen's message. Your story inspired the team. Thank you for showing us what we almost lost. I looked out at the skyline again. Mom, dinner tonight? She smiled knowingly. The same Italian place? The one where Dad told me to quit. Yes. But tonight we celebrate what happens when you don't listen to doubt. Outside, workers replaced the Morgan & Sons signage with Wilson Global. A new era was beginning, for the company and for us. My father would finally learn what I'd always known. Success isn't about power or pride. It's about vision, effort, and the strength to rise when the world counts you out. I pressed the intercom. Patricia, set up weekly mentoring sessions with Junior Analyst Foster. Pause. Let's show him what his failed daughter can really teach him.